live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
And a good morning to ya. How you doing? It's a Monday. It's the 24th of the 11th month of the 2015th year, or so they say. And here we are. Beautiful summer day, and the stock market is caving. Just saying. It's like down over 800 points. Well, for now, it could be down 1,000 points for all I know in the time I walked from my car into the building. But don't get distressed, please. The Chinese are more distressed than we are, which gives me some happiness. So I'm coming up in the elevator, and let's see, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us in the elevator. And as we proceeded up, one of the people said, "I didn't realize this building had so many floors." And I don't, all I know is I began sort of, on Monday morning, okay, back up, Cullen, back up. On Monday morning, your brain is sort of still in kind of a sleep weekend mode, and it's a little harder to, so I think that's where my brain is. This is giving me some cover for what I'm about to tell you. So the elevator stops. The doors open, and this has nothing to do with what the woman said about so many floors, but the elevator doors open, and nobody gets out. And I think, doesn't it, who the hell? Come on, one of you guys, out! Why are we stopping here? And everybody looked around, and finally one of the gentlemen said, "Is anybody getting out here?" And I looked perturbed around too. And then I happened to just look up. And it was my floor. So I'm the idiot. I was sitting there thinking, who's the idiot who doesn't know? Look, you press the button. There's the floor. Get out. I just am saying that because that may be an indication of where this show's going, seeing as I'm in the pilot seat, right? So that was a little embarrassing. And I thought, oh, I said, me. And I out, and I turned to the group and I said, excuse me, didn't know what. And I left them all looking at me like, what the hell was that? So that was my first human interaction today, and I'm a little humbled by it, I think. So, stock market. If you have a 401k and you're relatively young, pay no attention. Relax. What goes down must come up. Is that what it says? No, I guess that's not the way it works. What goes up must come down, but then eventually, if it's the stock market, it goes back up again. If you're an old fart like me, this is more dire. But it's just a correction, as they say. Everything was overvalued. Don't get me on the stock market because the whole thing is insane. It's insane. I'm avoiding talking about things. Why is that? Well, here's one. There was a big funeral in Rome the other day, and the Romans were freaked out about it. Do you ever think that the people in Rome are Romans? I mean, you think of Romans and you think of people in, in the Colosseum and men wearing those short little skirts and those, like, knee-high boots with all the strings on them. So it's a look. That's what I think of as Romans. But there's Romans now, and they don't look like that. Anyway, so the people of Rome had this funeral. Well, they didn't, but somebody did, and they're still freaked about it. There is outrage in Rome and Italy in general about the funeral of, let me see if I can get his name right, Vittorio Casamonica. Or Casamonica. I don't know where the syllable is. Vittorio Casamonica. This was quite a send-off. Vittorio his body was paraded through the streets, pulled by 6 black-plumed horses. And when the horses carried his coffin up to the basilica, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of mourners who were there to greet him had a huge sign on the church gates. And the sign said, sorry, I couldn't find it, could you tell? And the sign said, "You have conquered Rome. Now conquer paradise." Who was this guy? Vittorio Casamonica. I mean, he is the capo, the head of a big crime family that apparently terrorizes Rome. And the outrage is that someone who was a bad guy who wielded power in unsavory business could parade through the streets, and that these hundreds and hundreds of people, and even that the church would even accept all this and allow for this display. You have conquered Rome, now conquer paradise. Yeah, you could shake down St. Peter, break his knees. So, I'm not done. Loudspeakers were blaring the theme song from The Godfather. I don't know. You gotta love it. Oh, a brass band was playing the theme. I'm sorry. I told you before. I didn't even know I was supposed to get out of the elevator, so I'm not exactly. I mean, telling my stories quite right. And get this: a hovering helicopter was dropping rose petals on the mourners below as the Godfather theme filled the air. Anyway, the Prime Minister is pissed off. The President of Parliament's Anti-Mafia Committee said it was a humiliation for all Italians. And there's outrage in Rome that Vittorio Casamonica could stage this last one to Rome as he went up to conquer paradise. Apparently, Rome has had a particularly rough year in regards to corruption, because, I mean, a lot of the government is in bed with these guys, right? But you gotta love it. I just love the bad taste of it. I mean, the bad taste of it is just joyously wonderful. Can you see them planning it? And we'll have a brass band playing the Godfather theme as the 6 black-plumed horses bring the, I can only imagine, overwrought carriage carrying his body. And a helicopter will spray the hundreds of mourners with rose petals as we welcome our capo. Anyway, that was it. After that, it gets a lot more serious. Okay. This one I thought was really fascinating, and this has to do with, you know, the story du jour that you're already so sick of you can't see straight, which is Donald Trump. Now, I bring it up because I have eschewed, God bless you, I have eschewed speaking of him as much as humanly possible, given that I do this talk show thing. Because he is a gift from the gods to anybody who talks for a living. Gift from the gods. But because I am a more principled, high-toned talk show host, I have eschewed speaking of him as much as possible. And everybody's saying the same things, right? Everybody's saying look, remember Herman Cain? You remember that? 4 years ago? Or 8 years ago? Whatever the hell it was. Remember Bachman? She was scary. All of these people that were, remember Rick Santorum, all of these people who, you know, rose up and were considered, and were topping the polls. And then, where are they now? So everybody's saying, look, Trump is just a summer sensation, and this is people not being serious. He is a person that is allowing disgruntled folks unhappy with the political parties to have their say and get off on their anger. And the polls don't mean much of anything at this point. That's what you're hearing, right, from the pundits. And Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio and all these others have been, you know, patting themselves on the back in an effort to calm themselves by saying this is not going to last. I mean, the guy is going to implode. He's finally going to say something. Well, he has. He has said a few somethings that if anyone else uttered them, they'd be dead meat. That's it. You're done. And instead, he says outrageous things that would destroy anybody else's presidential hopes. And he's actually more popular. So, the New York Times reviewed all of the public polling that has gone on, and then did a series of interviews with his supporters, also did their own private survey tracking voting records of people. They really tried a much more serious, intense aggregating of all the information that's out there to try to find out if this thing we keep saying that Trump ain't going anywhere, so this is just a sideshow, relax, if that in fact were true. And what they found, well, the headline is, "Why Trump Won't Fold." Now, I don't know, but they're saying he ain't like Bachmann and he ain't like Herman Cain. This is something else. This is something else and in a different election cycle. Here's what they found. The reality is that Trump, the people that are behind him right now, are not a monolithic demographically. They're not monolithic. They are a very diverse crowd. They are women. They are men. They are all over the place geographically. It is a broad and even ideologically diverse coalition. But here's what must be understood. That coalition is held together not by policy, because he really hasn't put much out there except some, rather inflammatory bumper sticker things. It's not about policy. It literally is about personality. It really is about attitude. Now, his personality, to me, it's so obnoxious and repulsive. I run running. But for millions of Americans, that pompous, unapologetic, running at the mouth nitwit is exactly what they love. Listen to this. In all the polls taken of Republican voters, Trump leads in these demographics. Get this. Among Republicans, Trump leads the pack with women. Despite the fact, of course, that he's called women fat pigs, disgusting animals, had a fit when someone had to do her breast milk, all this stuff. Okay, he leads among women. He leads all the other Republican contenders among evangelicals. This is a guy who doesn't do the God thing. He leads among evangelicals, this oft-married. He even said, wasn't he asked once, would you, do you have any reason to ask God for forgiveness? And he said, no. I can't think of a thing. I mean, Donald Trump does not prostrate. I always get those two mixed up. Does not prostrate himself in front of anybody, including God. Okay. He leads among, get this, Republicans who say they're moderates. He leads among Republicans who are college educated. He leads among the less affluent. He leads among the most frequent likely voters. What? I'm just saying. That's what the data showed. And what the Times gets from that is that, well, frankly, all of that just suggests that he has the potential to outlive the flash-in-the-pan, candidacies that we have seen in past Republican presidential primary campaigns. This doesn't look like all those others. So there's nothing he can say. There's nothing he can say that starts to peel people away. In part because it is exactly that they love. They love the fact that he says what he wants to say, that he never apologizes. And in interview after interview, that's all you hear. People saying he's ballsy. He tells it like it is. He isn't politically correct. So the more he says outrageous things, the more people say, give me more of this. I'm so sick of these careful, scripted politicians. This is what I want. And one of his supporters said something I think that's very interesting. She said, even if he doesn't win, he is teaching other politicians to stop being politicians. So it's this authenticity, this honesty. He might be a total flake who can't in any way, in any substantive debate, defend so many of his issues, including deporting millions upon millions upon millions of immigrants. They love the fact that he challenges all the conventional, taboos, and they love what they call the plain-spoken directness. So that's what it found. It found that the appeal has nothing to do with what he's saying. It has everything to do with how he's saying it. And I'll tell you, if you were to ask me, I could get in step with the complaints a lot of his supporters have about, the fork-tongued, velvet-tongued, focus-grouped politicians that we now suffer. Bernie Sanders, same thing. He doesn't have consultants. He just says what he says. So I love that. I love the fact that this is bewildering the professionals. Politicians didn't used to be professionals. It wasn't a career. And now it's just another professional thing with its own language and its own, crazy kind of, I can't talk, I can't think, I can't whatever. But anyway, here's what it says, why Trump won't fold. They think George Will had a good cut at him. He said something. He's killing Will. He's just, not that I read Will that much, but every time I have glanced at his column, he looks like he's in a constant state of apoplexy. Because George Will is a very cerebral man. And he's a serious man. And he looks at this crude clown, and he can hardly bear it. But he came up with a good analogy. He talked about the fact that, the Donald owns the what? Miss Universe, Miss USA and Miss Universe pageants. And how he said what he doesn't realize, and this is what he will understand, Donald, you're winning now, but this is just the swimsuit competition. There's a lot more ahead. Okay, we got a caller. Hi.
Hello. Hi. Hey, there's a lot of Democrats that would follow the immigration thing. They maybe not want everybody deported, but they would be glad to see somebody take a stance on it to maybe tighten up the, tighten up the borders.
And you're one of them.
And I'm one of them, yeah. Mm-hmm. Not that I don't like other things he says.
Right, but you like that.
Right. And it's not because, and everybody that doesn't like immigration isn't racist either. I hate that. Just because you say you don't want people, I have no problem different people coming here. I just have the problem when you bring the people in. You got more competition, the wages go down, and outsourcing, and then they bring them on these visas and they pay them less money. It's all connected to lower wages for the middle class.
Well,
that's the only problem
but
I
it's
have
not
with
just.
immigration. I understand that immigration coming in the country. That's great.
Okay, but I also understand that there's a lot more than immigration that is driving this race to the bottom for American workers in terms of wages. It's not just the immigrants coming in. If the immigrants didn't come in to do some of this work, the capitalists here would just ship those jobs overseas to where they would take the jobs to the people, right? Which they have done. So I'm not so sure it's as big a part of that as you're saying. It makes some sense that it because they're willing to work for less, and they're willing to work hard as hell, and they're willing to do stuff that Americans feel is beneath them or is too hard. They do in that regard. In that regard, they sort of raise the bar, but they lower the bar for wages. I don't know what to. I
love the rosy picture they paint as the immigrants came to this country and they worked. The only reason they wanted immigrants is because slavery was over. So they needed more workers. So they let those people in, and they paid them slave wages. A lot of people died building this country. So it's this pretty picture that America paints about the immigrants coming. There's a lot of them that died and building the railroads and all that stuff. It's just such a bunch of bullshit, as America always feeds the people, which I think I just can't get behind some of the shit they say. Well,
that shows that you're thinking for yourself, and I commend you for it.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Hey, I just want to say this to another caller. I can't remember who called last week and was going on and on and on and on and on, telling us the story of some show he was loving. Do you remember that caller? It was called The Brink. I happened upon it last night in a lull during the pirate game. I clicked around, and there it was, and I loved it. I loved it. I mean, I was coming, I think it was the last show of the season or something, but it looked very funny. I mean, I know you were telling me that it was about Pakistan and nuclear war, and I thought, and it's funny? How could it be fun? It's funny. I liked it. I might have to go back. But just thank you very much. Appreciated it. Hey, something else, and you'll thank me for this. The Shady Side Arts and Crafts Festival's coming up this weekend. Mm-hmm. Saturday and Sunday, and that's a huge event, as you know. It's the 19th annual Shady Side Arts and Crafts Festival, and there's so much stuff that's brought in, jewelry and handmade thises and that's, and it's fun. It's fun to look at all that amazing stuff. And it's really hard not to buy a lot of it, too. So what I'm suggesting is, here's a great opportunity in this delightful beautiful August we're having to do your Christmas shopping at the Shady Side Arts Festival, Walnut Street, this weekend. Don't miss it. They let you in for free. Try to get out for free. It's true. You spend. You do, because you're having a good time. Whatever. Just wanted to tell you. Okay. So I was in the shower yesterday. And I was about to lather up my bod. And I use this, that liquidy soap. And this soap said it had, I don't care about brand. I get whatever I have a coupon for. I don't have any brand loyalties. Oh, did I tell you about what happened when I was in Green Bay? About brand loyalties? No, I'm going to digress here. I don't think I told that story, and I have to. This is another story, sort of like the elevator story, of me being just out of it. Out of it. So I was in my mother's bathroom, and I was getting ready for the day, and I looked around for some toothpaste. And I saw the toothpaste, and I saw that it wasn't her regular toothpaste. My mother has brand loyalty, and it's to Crest. So all I've ever seen in our house is Crest. And this said, well, I saw the CO and the different, I thought, when did she switch to Colgate? How odd. But then I thought, maybe someone left it here who was also staying in the house. I grabbed the Colgate. I put it on. It had been used quite a bit. And then I had another concern, because my mother is known for keeping things so far past their expiration date. I thought maybe this is from 1910. Maybe it's not good anymore. But I squeezed some onto my toothbrush, and it came out in an odd way. It didn't look like it was milkier and more liquidy. It was still, but I thought, uh-oh, this probably isn't any good. But I was in my morning fog. I thought, all right, it's Colgate. It's probably expired. It looks weird, but what the heck? And I stuck it in my mouth. And the taste was, I spit it out. I tried to rinse. I rinsed some more. It wouldn't. I could not get this. And then I looked at the tube. It wasn't Colgate. It was Cortisone 10. Oh, my God. Yes. Yes. Have you ever brushed your teeth with Cortisone 10? May I suggest don't. I thought, oh, I poisoned myself. Oh, my God. And then I went to tell all the other people in the house, I just brushed my teeth with Cortisone 10 and I can't feel my tongue. And my gums are numb. And I have this horrible taste. Well, of course, this was greeted by gales of laughter. I said, but really? I could be, I can't. So this went on. My discomfort went on for hours. My fear of potentially having poisoned myself. And that's the same day I then went to the gun range and managed to be injured. It was not I should have read my horoscope that day. It was not a good day. But so anyway, read labels a little more carefully. But back to the story I was telling you, which was and this is going somewhere. This is going somewhere serious. So there I am in the, there's a gentleman wandering around who I think is intending to come in here. So I'm lathering myself up, and then I remembered something I'd read, because this soap that I was using said that it had that it would defoliate and make my skin soft, along with the, who knows what, jujubes or something it was in. I don't know. But I had just read something which freaked me out, and now I'm going to share it with you, because why should I be the only person freaking out in the shower? When you use certain products, and a lot of these are toothpaste, you see, there's a connection, toothpaste, exfoliants, lotions that ladies put on their face. The thing that is in that stuff that is helping to do what you're using it for, which is get rid of plaque or get rid of dead skin, that stuff, you ever ask yourself what that is? What's doing that? There's actually chemistry going on here. Let me tell you what it is. They're called in the industry microbeads. Microbeads. What are they made of? I just give you the great Dustin Hoffman movie, The Graduate. Plastics. All right? So you are brushing your teeth with little plastic micro orbs. And they're made of polyethylene, or they're made of polypropylene, or one of those things. And I'm telling you now, start looking at the ingredients lists. And when you see that, don't buy it. Okay? Here's why. Researchers have seen that these microbeads eventually make their way from the toothpaste tube, from your mouth, into the drain, into the water system, and into, well, a lot of water systems, but the Great Lakes are they're finding huge amounts of these virtually indestructible microscopic plastic beads. And you know what they do when they're in the water? They attract bad stuff. They attract PCBs, for instance. And they become part of the food chain. So there they are, little plastic things you wouldn't even notice, and fish come by and they eat, and fish ingest these little plastic beads. And if you were to get a fish out of one of the Great Lakes now and you were to dissect it, they are filled with plastic beads. So, if you eat fish coming out of the Great Lakes, you now are probably festooned with plastic beads. So they've been doing these studies, and oh my God. In Lake Superior, there are, I know this doesn't, numbers don't necessarily mean anything to you, 7,000 plastic particles per square kilometer. 7,000. Get this, Lake Michigan, 17,000. Get this, Lake Erie, 46,000 beads per square kilometer. And the winner of all winners, Lake Ontario, 248,000 little plastic beads per square kilometer. You ask a scientist, well, what amount is safe? The scientist would say 0 would be the proper thing. So it turns out water filtration plants, almost none of them sift this stuff out. So I'm just saying, some states are ahead of this. You can be sure Pennsylvania is not one of them. We're never ahead of anything. Some states have outlawed them or restricted the use of them. They include my home state of Wisconsin, because it's sitting there on Lake Michigan, and they're aware of this now. Do you know those Great Lakes are the largest freshwater ecosystem on this planet? They're an amazing resource. And because I would like to exfoliate this dead skin of my and I want to brush my teeth with stuff that's going to like scrape stuff off of it, we're potentially killing this ecosystem. We're certainly harming it. So I want to alert you to this. I was not aware of it. Start looking for it. When you're buying something, please look, and if it has polyethylene or polypropylene, don't use it. Serious. But also, don't brush your teeth with cortisone 10. I'm just saying. So, the New York Times does say that some major companies have stopped using the microbeads, or they're phasing them out of their products. The European Union, always ahead of us on this stuff, is going to probably prohibit their use in cosmetics. Canada has announced plans to regulate them. And so the fastest solution, though, is for consumers to stop buying the shit, okay? Just telling you. Hello, caller.
Yes, Clarence Canonsburg.
Clarence! How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, I always, when people bring up plastics, I always like to bring up the fact that they're petroleum based. It's another one of the
yes, that's true.
Oil industry and
that's
Koch
right.
brothers. Okay.
That's right.
That's
absolutely correct. Petroleum based.
Yeah, and because I exfoliate with a washcloth. I still use bar soap.
That's so retro. Oh, my God. A rough washcloth would do it. You know what else would do it? Sand.
Yeah.
I mean, really. Yeah. Get some gravel and rub. Come on.
I still use a petroleum-based product, to make my skin silky smooth.
Oh, you do?
Petroleum jelly.
Yes. Yes, it is. That's definitely oil too. Yeah.
Yeah, but all that expensive perfumed up stuff.
Yeah.
That people use.
Yep.
It's really not necessary.
No, it's not.
Old school. You can even brush your teeth. I don't do it, but you can brush it with.
What do you mean you don't brush your teeth?
I don't brush it with baking soda. That's what I'm going to bring up.
Oh yeah. I've heard that you can do it with baking. I don't wanna.
Yeah, I mean, although I don't do it, but I just use Crest, old-fashioned. That Crest, super this, super that, blah 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 blah.
You know what? When you go to get a tube of Crest? Mm-hmm. I mean, why do they make it so damn hard? What do I want? Do I want this one, that one? There's like 5,000 different Crests.
Yeah.
Do I want white teeth? Do I want, I don't know.
Super white teeth?
Super white teeth?
Maximum white?
Maximum white, gigantic white. You want blinding white? Yeah. You want
chill protection.
You want fluoride. You want this. You want that. Jesus, just give me a goddamn tube of toothpaste.
I kind of get, psychiatrists will tell you, what is it called? The something of choice. When you have too many choices, you usually choose nothing.
It's paralyzing. Yeah.
Yeah, it just paralyzes you. So I just go, I go old school. It's like, my teeth might fall out or something. I don't care.
Hey, did you see
whatever.
This? Hey, I got something about, now that we mentioned teeth and brushing teeth. Mm-hmm. Do you know that somebody did a study and romantic kissing, like what we do? Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, Clarence, but I suspect you've done some. And I, in my past, I was out there. Yeah. So romantic kissing, we think that's just a human urge, right? Well, you study a lot of cultures. There are cultures that consider putting mouth to mouth, let alone getting like inside with tongues and things, the most disgusting thing they've ever heard of. And those people are procreating too, but they're not doing romantic kissing. And it's hard to believe, but there's tons of them that would not do that. There are some cultures which do this sort of like sort of like a mouth thing where they're sort of just really close but not quite. And then you get like, sort of rubbing cheeks and stuff. And somebody said, well, how could they not kiss? And this was the answer. We're talking about cultures that are more primitive. They don't kiss. And the guy said, well, we're talking about people who maybe have never brushed their teeth in their lives.
There you go.
Would you want to kiss it? No. No. So I just wanted to say that. So, this had to do with brushing teeth, and that was just a fact I came across, which I found interesting.
Well, I thought you were going with that because I had read a while ago that kissing is a way to basically, it's almost like the smell, the must smell.
Yeah, it's sort of tasting someone.
You're tasting someone.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Yeah,
you're seeing if I like the taste of you, the smell of you, because that's just basic animal stuff, checking you out.
It's better than smelling butts, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think dogs would beg to differ, as would my cats.
Well, my dog begs for it all the time. I'm sure he'll beg to differ because he begs for food.
I know, yeah. Do you know, when I had my dog, I took my dog to the vet once in Point Breeze, and do you know what that vet did? Lovely woman. She picked up Lucy's tail and smelled her asshole. The vet did. And I let out eyes. What did you just do? She said, you would be surprised how quickly you learn a lot of things. She said, I later was in a social situation with this woman. I said, you traumatized me that day.
See, it's a good way to learn things, but, I'll wait for her book to come out and I'll read it.
Assholes I have sniffed. Shit. Okay, are we done?
Yeah, we're done because you made me laugh harder than I made you laugh. So
ha
ha! Just real quick, I ran into somebody yesterday while I was doing characters who recognized me from your show.
Oh, for God's sakes! You mean from
a
million?
That was over, but obviously
it's still not over. I know.
She listened to you since WTAE.
Yeah.
And still listens to you online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God bless her.
Yeah.
Shout out to you. Hi.
I wish I would have remembered her name if she even told me. So that's embarrassing.
Okay, that's cool.
All right.
Bye.
Okay,
bye, Clarence. Okay, we got a lot of emails here, guys. Jeez. Colette writes, who does your caller think built the railroads? Immigrants. But that's what he said. Wasn't that his point? The Chinese, mostly, built the railroads. And most of the people who built the oh, that's what you say then. Sorry, Colette. Stole your thunder. We're Chinese. Yeah, he knew that. He was saying, after we didn't have slaves anymore, we said, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, and we can bring them in and have them build this country and die doing it, and we won't have to pay them anything. That was his point. Margie writes that at least I didn't brush my teeth with hemorrhoidal cream. Yeah, but I once sprayed hairspray under my arms. This was in the day before we knew that, polycarbons, is that what that was? That we were, those fluorocarbons. That is an unpleasant experience as well. Henry writes about Donald Trump, Lynn. Donald Trump's appeal, in my opinion, comes more from his entertainment value than anything else. These presidential races have become nothing more than a reality show, as evidenced by that debate a couple of weeks ago. This is entertainment, not politics. Henry, everything is entertainment now. Everything. You are correct. We live in an entertainment culture. That's the be-all, the end-all. It's why people don't even care so much about being rich anymore. They just want to be celebrities. That's the ultimate. I don't need to be a good person and get into heaven. I want to be a celebrity. It is. It's all entertainment. All of it. Trump may be politically incorrect and unapologetic in his speech, but his verbal diarrhea says nothing about his policies or the type of administration he would have. Do you think he's thought for 1 minute about his policies or his administration? Stop and think of his administration. Oh, my God. William is not amused by what I said about Trump and that he's not necessarily a flash in the pan. Lynn, I'm tired of paying compliments to an electorate which evidently knows less and less and less about what it takes for a representative to function in a democracy. I'm tired of confusing political correctness with someone actually taking a moment to consider what they're saying. Morton Downey started this, and Bill O'Reilly honed it to a fine art. This whole stupid belief of your stupid belief of you're not replying instantly, therefore you must be lying. Yep, too many politicians hem and haw and focus group and couch their rhetoric. But some of us are still trying to think about how carefully to answer a question. So fuck Morton Downey Jr. and fuck Bill O'Reilly and fuck everyone who has permitted their attention spans to implode to that of a butterfly. I am not impressed by this evidently ever-growing bulk of our electorate. This is why I type all the time. I'm the least spontaneous speaker you would ever meet. But do you doubt that the point I'm making here is genuine? Not for a minute. This is a crisis our founders never anticipated. The willful abandonment of a common, shared, and verified reality, and the retreat of individuals into their own insulated realities. It's a serious damn crisis. People are honestly buying, yeah, so what about the 14th Amendment? It's not healthy. William, I feel your pain. You speak the truth. But, Josh, I once went to brush my teeth with a travel-sized toothpaste when camping. It was dark, and I did not have my glasses on. Uh-oh. So I found the toothpaste in my backpack by feeling around in the dark. Well, it turned out to be a tube of Clearasil that was also in my backpack. Boy, was that a bad taste sensation. I wonder if it was as bad as my Cortisone 10. Did the Clearasil... Yeah, but the Cortisone 10 numbed my tongue and my gums for 3-4 hours before I completely... And that's because, I mean, you know, it would have... The gum and the tongue would have taken that stuff in a lot more quickly than it is on your skin. Oh, God. And I didn't even bother to look at the tube where it probably said, do not ingest. If you do, call poison control immediately. Roger writes, Trump reminds me of Martin Sheen in the movie The Dead Zone from a Stephen King book. Sheen played a loudmouth presidential wannabe who had no hesitancy using nuclear weapons. I missed last week's shows as I was vacationing in the middle of the woods in Ontario. Did you discuss a new term that popped up? Anchor baby. No, but I discussed anchor babies over a year ago because it's not a new term. It's a term. I mean, I have. Sounds not nice. I'm tempted to go back to the woods, except my cat missed me terribly. He did everything but sing Barry White songs to me all night. A little too close to the cat? I wonder. Okay, I also read something over the weekend that there's a personality difference between people who vacation in, like, the woods and people who vacation at the beach. People who vacation in the woods or in the mountains tend to be introverts. This makes sense. I mean, it does. And people who go to the beach tend to be extroverts. Just saying. Ansel writes, I tried to listen to Trump's speech from Alabama on Friday. The first 15 minutes of the speech was all about himself. I couldn't take it anymore. He says nothing in his speeches, and I look at his audience and I think, sheep. P.S. Went to the Pirate game over the weekend. Did not hear one woo! No. Woo! I'm not doing the woo right. No, I didn't either. I was gunning. I told my friend who I'd gone with, I said, if we hear one of those woos, I just know I'm getting up and I'm going to track it down and I'm going to kill it, okay? But we didn't hear one. And I think it's gotten out. Uh-oh. Yeah, you're right. I am being told by Celine, my producer, to once again remind you that the Shady Side Arts Festival is happening this weekend. Indeed it is. And the guy who does these, he does these all over the country. He's good at what he does. His name is Howard Allen, in case you wanted to know. This is the 19th Annual Shady Side Arts Festival, and you can get all kinds of stuff. Artists, crafters, all those people, they set up their booths, and all the stores are open, and there's food on the street, and there's tons of... This is not for introverts who would go to the woods. This is for beach people, because there's lots of folks around, and you can buy stuff. Lots of gifts. Christmas shopping in August. That's this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. No charge for admission. Okay. Trump's... What? H.L. Mencken. The men the American people admire most extravagantly are the most daring liars. The men they detest most violently are those who try to tell them the truth. That H.L. Mencken was a son of a bitch, but that I agree. I absolutely agree with him. Okay, labor record. 3 ways Trump has behaved like a sociopath toward his workers. 1, many of the workers constructing a Trump International Hotel in D.C. are undocumented. 2, Trump Tower was built by Polish immigrants who were paid $5 an hour. And 3, a worker fell to his death constructing Trump Soho. Well, I'm sure that, yeah, people die doing those things. There's no doubt about that. And, geez, guys are writing a lot today. Noreen writes, there's a letter to the editor in today's Post-Gazette from a woman who wrote about her experience going to PNC Park. I saw that letter! And I want to say to that woman, stay home, scaredy cat. Noreen says, she mentions that she and her husband attended the game on August 20th, Faith Night. That's the night I was there. Praise the Lord. You betcha. Praise the Lord. I didn't realize it was Faith Night. If I'd known it was Faith Night, I probably wouldn't have been there. But nothing happened while I was there. I think it happens after the... Yeah, when you went in, they were handing out little crucifixes in pirate colors. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so yes, her husband was at the same... She and her husband at the same game I was. And she said, it is a great opportunity for people with a shared faith to enjoy a lovely evening at the park. She then goes on to say how the number of homeless people and musicians playing for money on the bridge heading up there has grown and grown. And her last statement is this, quote, it is starting to make some of the fans really uncomfortable going to the games. I read that and I thought, yeah, you know what? I didn't put 2 and 2 together. She went because it was Faith Night. And I have to tell you, Faith Night seems to be mostly, like it's Christian. Faith Night. This good Christian woman and her husband. And she was truly troubled by all the poor people and people just desperately trying to make some money by maybe blowing a saxophone. She was truly troubled, but not in a Christian way. No, I wonder if she gave any money to any of those poor people. No, she was frightened. She was uncomfortable. Noreen says, this is the disconnect that is so pervasive today. She probably doesn't even see that. No, of course she doesn't. Or she wouldn't have written this letter to the Post-Gazette so that people could laugh at her. Yes, we went down to celebrate our faith and to tiptoe with revulsion around those beggars on the bridge. That she would even not like the people that were playing music, the buskers. That's why. Whoever wrote that letter, she's suburban, right? You betcha. These are people who cannot stomach urban life, where you actually rub elbows with people who are very unlike you. And there's this sort of cacophony and cornucopia of difference and humans, and it's exciting to those of us who love urban life. To you, madam, it's scary. All right. Except for a small amount that has been incinerated, and it's a very small amount, every bit of plastic ever made still exists. What kind of people are we? Well, a lot of adjectives come to mind. Indifferent was the one that popped up. Our oceans are turning into plastic. A vast swath of the Pacific Ocean, twice the size of Texas. Twice the size of Texas is filled with a plastic roiling stew that is entering the food chain. Yeah, you see, we're all connected, despite what the scared lady in the suburbs thinks. We're all part of the same thing. And scientists say that these toxins are causing all kinds of crap. Obesity, infertility, and maybe stupidity. Oh, I had other things to talk about, but we're not going to get to them. I'm sorry, I've been screaming a lot at you today. I don't mean to scream. This is one of these things where this is why my son is always saying, "Why are you so angry?" I'm not angry. I'm just vociferous. I'm just loud, is what it is. So I'm sorry. But I've got to be me. I gotta be me. I think we're done. I know technically we got one more minute, but who's watching the clock? Okay, so tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, my sister will join us. My sister, who sounds, by the way, like she's... You talk to her now and she says, "Hello." You say, "What's wrong?" It's the puppy. She forgot that puppies are like having a newborn. And she is totally sleep deprived. And that's the puppy. Remember when she first got the puppy? It's like instant endorphins. I mean, I'm just so happy all the time, and you can't, blah, blah. And now, 2 weeks later, it's the puppy. All righty, enjoy this glorious day. I just want to say one more thing. Go Bucks! Toodles.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pga citypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.